Hey, what's going on YouTube? Alabama Reloader here, coming to you from the reloading bench today. So pretty much what I wanted to talk about was a new project on the channel. Seems like every time we turn around, we've got a new project, but this one is kind of one of those old new projects, right? So in the past, I had worked up a load. I'll show you the rifle. So here's the rifle. It is a very old, look at that sling stud missing there, but very old. This is a New England Firearms. I don't even think they exist anymore. I think they are now, I think a lot of people know them as like H&R, Harrison and Richardson or something, Harrison and Richardson, whatever. H&R Handi Rifles is what you see a lot of now. This is a New England Firearms Handi Rifle SB2 chambered in 280 Remington. So this is a very old rifle. I believe this particular rifle is actually the one that I used to shoot that guy. That's the first buck I ever killed. Just a little small 8-point. I can't remember how old I was when I shot him. I was real young, but it was actually that had a 223 barrel on it at the time, and that's what I killed him with. I shot him with a 223, and then my dad has now since then swapped it out to a 280 Remington. And in the past, I had worked up this hunting load for him, and I'm almost positive it's 160 grain. I want to say it's this guy right here. The Spear 160 grain boat tail soft point or Spitzer point, whatever you want to call it. The problem is I don't think I documented that load development to my knowledge. I've looked around, I've tried to dig through all of my notes and everything, and I don't think I actually documented what the final load was for this guy. And so I've got a few of these left, and I don't want to shoot all of them because this is the 3-shot group that it produced. So that was my point of aim, that 3/4 inch green dot there. And so I'm a little low. I need to make an adjustment on the scope. But that was a 3-shot group with that rifle. It comes in at like 0.85 inches at 100 yards, which is obviously more than good enough for the hunting that we do here in Alabama. So anything under an inch is good to go, ready to rock and roll for what we do, the hunting and shooting that we do. And so as you can see, I've got a few of these left. I don't want to burn through all of them. I'd like to probably at least, maybe keep 5 or 6 of a known good load. We just don't know the recipe of it, but we know it shoots really well out of that rifle. So I'd like to keep, 5 or 6 of those, probably shoot maybe a couple more, make a scope adjustment, maybe shoot another 3-shot group and then call it done. And then in the meantime, in the background, we're going to be working on a new load for him, and see what we can come up with there. But I do, I don't want to burn through those and then not have anything for hunting season. So I want to at least keep a few back. That way, if he wants to take it into the woods before we're able to work up a good load, then it won't be a problem. He'll just grab one of those and take off, and he's fine. So that's kind of the path we're on for this video. The reloading bench is an absolute mess, by the way. So yeah, a lot of stuff going on here. But right now, I did shoot. I had a bunch of old stuff I had worked up for him. Some Sierra Match Kings, like 130 grain Match King, that I'd worked up a long time ago for that rifle, and I had several of those loaded up. So on one of my previous range trips, I just shot through all of that to get the brass. And so now all I'm doing is going through and depriming everything. This is with the Redding decapping die, the universal decapping die. So that's all I'm doing here. I'm just going through getting that done. From there, we'll be using the Lee We'll be using our Lee die set, so our 3 die set there. Not going to be putting a crimp on these. We're only going to use the full length sizing die and the bullet seating die. And I feel good about using the Lee set. I've used Lee in the past and have had really good performance. Now, if we were going to be shooting like barns, bullets, or, you know, if we were going to go with, you know, like some burger style or VLD burger bullets or something like that, where the ogive shape wasn't more or less your classic, you know, ogive shape. That is basically what this is. It's more of a classic ogive shape on the bullet. So it's not the long, sleek, you know, bullet profiles that you're seeing a lot of nowadays. If we were shooting something other than this, then I probably would buy a separate seating die just for that. I'd try to track down the Hornady, a Hornady seating die, bullet seating die. That way I could buy different seating stems to make sure I match up the bullet, get good bullet seating stem contact, you know, get a good fit there. That is one thing I've noticed, you know, with like the Lee dies and stuff, you know, they're good value, but when it comes to, you know, fitting those sort of newer bullet designs, you know, they're not the best. Sometimes the tip might bottom out without the bullet actually making good solid contact with the seating stem. So you can kind of run into that as an issue. So just keep that in the back of your mind, depending on the bullet, the ogive shape that you're shooting. You could run into issues with bullet deformation due to the seating stem not fitting it correctly. So just something to think about. But we don't have to worry about that since we're shooting more of a traditional style hunting bullet in this application. So the Lee seating stem will be just fine. But yeah, just running through these. Getting this done. I think what we're going to do, we're actually going to test. I'm almost positive these are the 160s again. Like I said, I didn't write it down, but way back when I did work these up, I had purchased 130s, 145s, and 160s. The 160s is what I had the fewest of, so that's kind of what is leaning me towards, hey, I believe this was 160 grain round. Plus, I actually did chronograph some of these when I shot them the other day. I shot that 3-shot group, and then I think I shot a separate 3-shot group, 3 or 5, I can't remember. I think it might have been another 3-shot group, just to get some velocity data. And we were averaging like 2650, which is on the slower end. If you're talking about 130 or 145 grain bullet out of a 280 Remington, that's really slow. And even with the 160s, you can actually get up to, in the Spear Manual, we'll refer to that, I mean, you can push this thing up to, you know, 2850, 2854, depending on the powder that you're using. And I want to say, I think I might have used H4350 in this case, so that's why I'm thinking we're on probably the lower end of our charge weight range. You know, we could work up to just over 2,800 feet per second, but I want to say I'm on the lower end of that charge weight range, probably in the 49 grain range, something like that. Yeah, on our velocity or on our charge weight. So I think that's kind of what the recipe might be, somewhere in that range, but I'm not 100% sure. So we're just going to start from scratch, work up something new, but we are going to be using, we're going to be testing the 160s, the ones that I have left in those, and then we're also going to be testing the 145s. We have, you know, I think 89 or 90 left from some previous testing that I did. We ended up not using these in that 7mm 08 series. For Richard, we went with the 130s because they shot really well when we did some initial testing. So we just focused on the 130s, didn't even fool with the 145s. So we're going to circle back around on this 280 Remington stuff and try both the 145s and the 160s. So that's that's really where we're at. That's kind of the process, the path forward. All of this brass, to be honest with you, I don't know how many firings it has on it. I know it's not a lot. It's all Remington brass. My dad had purchased, just like, you know, a lot of people that hunt, he had purchased a lot of the Remington core lock ammo for the 280 Remington. He had, I think he had maybe 3 or 4 boxes of it, you know, and so I just basically, whenever I went and started working up the loads the first go around, I just shot through all of that, you know, me and him shot through all that factory ammo and got the brass. And so then that's what we've been using ever since. But I hadn't really worked up, you know, too many loads with this 280 Remington stuff. Like I said, I think I had loaded up some 130 grain Sierra Match Kings, and then the one, I'm almost positive it's 160 grain Spears. So I mean, I hadn't really, there's not a lot of firings on this brass, basically, is what I'm getting at. So, but what the plan is, we're going to do just a normal full-length resize. We'll probably get a pretty good sizing operation going on this guy. You know, I mean, we're not going to be worried about only bumping the shoulder, you know, 2/1000ths or whatever and all that. I mean, we'll probably get a good standard full-length resize on it, and then go from there. I plan on deburring the flash holes and doing that kind of fun stuff, just to do it. I haven't done it before on this brass, so I have the tool to do it, might as well do it. Typically, you just deburr brand new brass and then roll on. We might not even feel anything since these have been fired. Those burrs might not even exist, but we're gonna run through them just to do it, just because we can. And then we'll go from there. So what we'll be using, unless I can come up with some good load data for other powders, probably the powder that we'll end up going with will be H4350. I don't know. I'm going to look in some of the other manuals and see what I have, on hand, and see what we can use. I'd like to leave the H4350 for the Creedmoor, but and this one was already deprimed, so we'll just go from there. Some of the stuff you guys have already seen over here on this load data. So I mean, these 160s, we can get them going pretty fast. I'm not necessarily wanting to load a hot load. I'm not worried about that. Not worried about achieving a certain velocity threshold or really pushing this. You know, there's really no point in it. All I want to do is find good, accurate loads that, you know, my dad's going to be able to use out to a couple 100 yards. The scope that we have on this is just a cheap Conus. I think it's like a Conus Pro 3-9 by 40, I believe, rifle scope. So I mean, it's not, you know, it's nothing that's gonna break the bank there in terms of optics. It's not super high-end optics. So this is really just more or less a really budget-friendly hunting setup. You know, for someone that maybe has one of these at the house and you're wanting to reload for it, this is going to kind of give you an idea of maybe the path you can go down to achieve some decent accuracy with it and work up a good hunting load that you have full confidence in. And that's one of the things too. These rifles, I've had a couple of them come through my hands. These little H&R single shots. You know, they don't have a free float barrel. The barrel is attached directly to the handguard. You can really have an impact on your group size because of that, because it's not a free floating barrel. So it can be a little bit of a pain in the butt to try to find, you know, loads that the rifles will shoot really well consistently, right? Because you can definitely manipulate that due to different pressure that you're placing on the barrel and the forend and all that. It can kind of have an effect, so in the harmonics, so it can really mess you up. Which leads to some frustration with these rifles. If you talk to people that have them, that's typically the frustration is they'll go out and buy, you know, all this different factory ammo and they can't get the thing to shoot, you know, better than 2-inch groups, or maybe it just doesn't shoot to what they think it should be able to shoot. And so that's what comes into play with this. So because of that, you have to do a little more fine tuning than you would maybe otherwise, right? And these are typically some of your cheaper rifles that you can go buy. So with that value comes a little bit of work that you maybe need to do on the back end to get a good load identified. So this is what we're looking at here for the 145s. Some of the load data we're going to be working off of. You see H4350 there. I mean, you're talking 50.5 grains is your starting charge. It's a small window though that you're operating in. It only goes up 2 grains. It's only a 2-grain spread there. But yeah, so I mean, you see that. The only other powder that I have on this list, I can't remember if I have H4831 shortcut. I don't believe I do. I think I just have H4831. I've got an IMR 4064, but that's dedicated to our 308. I've got a little bit of Reloader 19 left, but that's I believe that's what I use to work up that 30-06 load that my dad likes so much. So I don't know. It depends on how much of that I have. I may test some of that. I'll have to go to some of the other manuals and see if I can come up with some different powder options, see what I have on hand at the time. So that's kind of where we're going to leave it. I'm just going to get ready to resize this guy, and I'm just going to follow the Lee instructions on this. I'm not worried about get this open. Let's see, full length sizer. So we're gonna do exactly what it says here. I mean, we're not gonna, you know, we're not worried about only bumping the shoulder 1,000th and a half, 2,000ths, all that. We're gonna do exactly what it says here. We're gonna get a really good resize on this brass, and then go from there. So we'll be using Hornady one-shot case lube, and we'll see how that goes. I've had some iffy luck with that here lately, but we're gonna use it for this process. I think we'll be okay. Yeah, and so that's what we're gonna be doing component-wise. So we've got Remington brass, powder. We've got to narrow down some powders that we're gonna use, and then the bullets, you've seen those, and then the primers will be S&B large rifle primers. So that's it. That's where I'm going to leave it. That's where I'm going to leave you guys. So we've got a lot of stuff, a lot of videos to get through, a lot of shooting to get through, not only for this project, but I've got a ton of other stuff that I need to get uploaded. I've got several videos already made. It's just they're sitting here on my phone. I've just got to get them uploaded. So y'all just stay tuned for a lot of good stuff, and some range footage too. I don't do a lot of filming at the range, but I did on this one particular range day. I think I ended up filming 3 different videos on that particular range day. So y'all just keep checking those out. Yeah, and we'll catch y'all next time. Again, y'all make sure you get over to Mr. Big Guns in Huntsville. Check out everything they've got. Let them know I sent you down there. They're getting in more and more, especially when it comes to reloading, more and more reloading products, powder, components, bullets. They've got some RCBS Match Masters in stock, the powder dispensers. So if you're looking for one of those, they've got Lab Radar chronographs. Matt's doing a really good job of expanding all of the accessories that go along with reloading, right? Some of the other items that you'd be more interested in. Reloading manuals, whatever you need there, a ton of stuff to choose from. So y'all go by, check them out, see what all they have. And then also make sure you get out to Midway Pistol and Pawn and Gurley. Talking with Robert, they're finishing up remodeling the store. I believe it's already done. They've expanded their firearms and sort of ammunition footprint there, the stuff that they want to offer in the store. So they've actually expanded that. So you guys go by, check them out, and yeah, we'll catch you next time. Y'all have a good one.